All right, so here we are after a jam-packed and unprecedented campaign season. Election day almost here. Now, millions of voters have already cast their ballots during early voting, and millions more will step into booths tomorrow. This weekend, both candidates honed in on crucial battleground states that could determine the outcome of the election. During a rally yesterday in Pennsylvania, former President Donald Trump noticed an opening in the ballistic glass that protects him during outdoor events. He suggested he would not mind if someone shot members of the press. Listen to this.
To get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news, and I don't mind that so much.
And it was just the second time in a few days that Trump encouraged violence against people he considers enemies. He suggested Liz Cheney should have, quote, guns trained on her face last week, you may remember. Trump also told the crowd he never should have left the White House after losing the 2020 election.
The day that I left, I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly, because we did so well.
Vice President Kamala Harris also had a busy weekend, including this surprise appearance on Saturday Night Live. And today, the VP is all in on Pennsylvania. She spent a full day in Michigan yesterday, capping off her trip with a rally where she shared an uplifting message going into Election Day.
Let's be intentional about, in the face of a stranger, seeing a neighbor and understanding that our power to lift each other up is immense. And let us do it with the spirit of knowing the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us.
And all of this comes as the latest CBS News battleground tracker shows Trump and Harris entering Election Day effectively tied. And you're looking at it here in each of the battleground states. And this weekend, a stunning poll from the Des Moines Register shows Harris leading Trump in Iowa by 3 points among likely voters, which is a stark reversal from September, where the same pollsters had Trump ahead in the state by 4 points. CBS News polling still shows Trump winning Iowa. Now, we've got team coverage of all of this for you this morning. Nikole Killion is in Atlanta and Weijia Jiang is in Philadelphia. Nikole, let's start with you. You're following the Trump campaign. How is the campaign responding after his controversial remarks about the media? You know full well he's always critical, but what he said at yesterday's rally seemed quite severe.
Yeah, well, it certainly got my attention and got the attention of a lot of members of the media, for that matter. But the Trump campaign tried to walk this back as quickly as possible, putting out a statement shortly after the former president made those comments, saying that the president's statement about protective glass placement has nothing to do with the media being harmed or anything else. It was about threats against him that were spurred on by dangerous rhetoric from Democrats, they allege. So, again, this kind of came during the former president's three-state sprint. He was in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, here in Georgia. But at that Pennsylvania rally, he really kind of went off script there, talking about some of the bulletproof glass around him when he made those comments about kind of if somebody were to take a shot at him, that they would have to go through the media. So that's kind of what sparked those comments. But the Trump campaign at this point really trying to turn the page on that remarks and all the other remarks that kind of predated this rally that, we have reported on over the course of this campaign. Because, again, we're one day out from the election. So the campaign at this point really trying to hone in on that closing message in this final day, asserting that the former president is the only candidate in this race that can fix the country. That is the message that they want voters to take going forward.
And Nikole, help us understand North Carolina. Trump set to rally there today, and according to his paths to power, he needs to win this. It's the only battleground he won in 2020. What's making it so competitive right now?
Well, look, much like here in Georgia, the demographics in North Carolina have also shifted. We know there in particular, the African-American vote is also going to be essential. And so the former president, because that state was so critical for him, not just in 2020, but also 2016, is really looking to hold on to it this time around. He cannot afford for it to flip. So that is a key part of the campaign strategy, to try to hold on to North Carolina. Obviously, we saw with Hurricane gasoline. That complicated some efforts in terms of voters, particularly out in western North Carolina, where there are a number of red counties and areas that were in the path of that storm. And we know, of course, there has been widespread devastation there. So that has also kind of complicated efforts in terms of trying to get out the vote. That being said, many voters out there are resilient. And again, on the part of the Trump campaign, they're just looking to keep North Carolina in their column.
All right, Nikole Killion, thanks so much. We appreciate the report this morning. Let's cross over now to Weijia Jiang. She's following the Harris campaign for us. And Weijia, on the Democratic side, Pennsylvania considered a real must-win for Harris's presidential chances and path to 270. Who is she trying to win over there now?
Good morning, Errol. At this point, it's not so much about trying to persuade anybody to vote. They believe that has already passed, even though there might be some people who will decide last minute. The name of the game today and certainly tomorrow is getting people to the polls. Even the Harris campaign points out that Pennsylvania traditionally is not a mail-in ballot state. It is a physical state where people go to the polls. So they're anticipating an overwhelming majority of voting to happen tomorrow. And that is why, all weekend, all today, it's all about churning up people to make sure that they're motivated. So in this state alone, Errol, on Saturday, the campaign says 800,000 doors were knocked, and yesterday 700,000. That's 1.5 million. And so they're really hoping that, paired with all of the get out the vote efforts they've done for the past several months, is going to make a difference, not to mention phone banking, ads. They really are banking on all of that coming together in their favor tomorrow, Errol.
And it seems they're also leaning into celebrity support at some of her events. There were performances including Katy Perry and Lady Gaga recently. Any proof that that makes a difference?
Actually, those performers are going to happen tonight because her grand finale rally is going to be right here in Philadelphia, where Lady Gaga is on the roster and Katy Perry is going to perform in Pittsburgh. So, this is an open-ended question about whether celebrities make a difference, Errol. Perhaps to some people, but the point is to really turn up enthusiasm, excitement, to have these massive events where supporters can go and feel energized so that maybe tomorrow they'll be motivated to ask their friends and family, hey, have you voted yet?
And we just saw Beyonce and Eminem at recent Harris events. Weijia, thanks so much. See you again very soon. Our elections and surveys director, Anthony Salvanto, has a quick look for you now on the latest CBS News polling as we head into Election Day.
Hi from the CBS News Data Desk, getting ready for Tuesday. Let me start by showing you what you might already know, that this race is really tight. Here's the latest CBS News estimates from all the battleground states, and each and every one of them is within the margin of error. That's how you know that this could go either way. I'll show you these. Michigan, Pennsylvania, exactly tied, all of them tight. So let me show you a couple of scenarios that could potentially play out. We've seen, of course, across our polling, some differences in who says they're going to vote. And in fact, it's been notable that there are folks who say that they didn't vote in 2020, 4 in 10 of whom tell us that they definitely will. Well, we know that the Trump campaign is trying to turn out a lot of these voters, in particularly the men among them, because those men are more for Donald Trump. So we can run those estimates and see what would happen in the map if that were to succeed. So I'll show you that scenario. Our models indicate that if Donald Trump does get that higher turnout from 2020 non-voters, especially from men, he could hold North Carolina, flip Georgia and Arizona back, and flip Pennsylvania, and that would put him over the 270 and give him the win. That's one scenario. But there's another in there, and that comes from partly the gender gap that we've seen so much of in this election, where men more towards Trump, but women more towards Kamala Harris. We know that the Harris campaign has been trying not only to reach out to women voters, but also to Republicans. And what would happen if, driven by Republican women, she were to get Biden levels of crossover of Republicans coming into her camp? Well, I'll show you that scenario We run it through our model estimates, and if that were to happen, gains with Republicans and women, she would hold the blue wall states, she would flip North Carolina, hold Georgia, and that would give her enough electoral votes to win. Again, hypothetical, but it's part of the campaign dynamics that could play out come Tuesday, and that's one way to watch how it all unfolds.
Really interesting. Anthony, thank you. And be sure to stay with CBS News for all-day coverage tomorrow, Election Day. We'll have live reports from our election headquarters in New York and from our teams across the country. And remember, special coverage begins at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS News 24/7.